David. My name is David Elliott. I'm a Deputy Secretary here at the Department of Administration, and welcome to this training. I was told to keep it brief, which is hard for lawyers to do, but I do have a couple quick things I would like to say. We are so excited. This day is a long time coming, and a lot of people are responsible for getting this grant management system off the ground. Certainly Secretary Caswell, one of her priorities when she came in was to make things as easy on you as possible and on staff. And one of the things we said was our application process, the paper process was just way too laborious. And so she worked hard to get the money and to keep this pushing. So certainly want to thank her. Our Council for Women, under the leadership of Danielle Carmen and her team, have worked tirelessly with IT, both DOT, our IT folks, state IT folks, to get all the programming done. And just want to really thank you all for the work that you do. It is not lost on us how critically important it is. And we know how what you do every day is often lost, that people are suffering, people are in need, and you all are there to serve them. And we want to give you more time to do that instead of filling out our paperwork. So we're excited that this grant management system will allow you to do that, will make things easier. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Danielle Carmen. But again, just wanted to thank everyone who's responsible for getting us to this point. And we're excited about how much time it's going to save, and hopefully will make all of our lives a lot easier so we can be about the business of helping those who need us. And that's what we're here for, public service. Thank you. Danielle?
Thank you, David. Hi, my name is Danielle Carmen. I have not had the pleasure of meeting a number of you, but we are excited to be here with you today to share our first training for this new grants management system. I'm going to do just a super quick overview of the system itself, and then turn it over to one of our developers and some other folks to actually go through a demo of the system. First, I just want to thank Elisa and Mario both for arranging these trainings and doing the work to make this happen. I see we've got 103 participants on this call right now, which is wonderful. I also want to thank Bernetta Thigpen very much for all of the work that she's done for years before I was even here, trying to make this system happen. And so we are thrilled to be here with you. When it's done, and it's not yet, the system is going to do a ton of different things. This slide just shows you all the different basic functionality at a very high level that it will have. Again, once it's done, you'll be able to submit your eligibility applications at the beginning of the fiscal year, or I guess for the fiscal year. Through the system, we'll be able to approve applications through the system. We'll be able to send you contracts and execute the contracts actually through the system with an interface with DocuSign. We are kind of starting in the middle this time with the bolded section, which is you all submitting your actual budgets and then any subsequent budget change requests through the system. And that part of it will be the focus of today's training. We will have additional trainings as we release additional functionality, including the expenditure and reimbursement reports, which are under development now and will be released fairly near future, as will grant payments both for the state contracts and reimbursements for our federal FIPSA contracts. We at the council will also be able to, and you will be able to monitor and track your grant progress. It will show you things like how much of your drawdown, how much of your balance you've drawn down. And then we'll be able to do reports and actually look at kind of overall trends and things like that. We are hoping that the system will be much simpler for you than the series of Excel workbooks that you guys have been working with for years. I believe it will be much simpler for you. And it will also give you just such better tools to kind of track your progress with the grant dollars and get answers to any questions you may have through the course of the grant. So with all of that being said, I'm going to say we're going to focus on our budgets and budget change requests today. And thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you, Danielle and David. Good morning. I'm Elisa Milliken, and I'm the FIPSA State Administrator. Before we move forward, just want to mention a little housekeeping rules. As you can see, we are recording this, so it will be available for you to go back and watch. But also, we want to get through the demonstration first before we start asking questions. However, you can put it in the chat, so please use the chat for the questions as they arise, and then we'll answer the questions you may have after the demonstration. Thank you so much, and take it away, Jung.
Actually, this is Gabriel Sorrell. I'm with the EBS Operations and Support Services team. We've gone ahead and created the training and documentation content. Okay, I cannot start screen share while other participant is sharing. So Elisa, if you could hide your screen and I'll go ahead and share mine. So what I wanted to quickly walk through with you guys is the content that we have prepared. It's integrated into the application itself, but I will also put it as a link in the chat here. So what we have are a series of simulations prepared. Excuse me. Oh, I got all this stuff up in my toolbar. Sorry, guys. Excuse me just one moment. I lost my screen. I got way too much up on my screen. So this is what you'll be seeing. This will be a tile available in the EBS portal, as well as a link from the within the forms themselves. And I just wanted to quickly go through the advantages of this sort of format as opposed to sort of your more traditional PDF documentation. So you'll click, they're all sort of functionally organized. And when you click on the tile, it brings you through to a simulation that actually will step you through the entire process, offering context along the way. So from this point, it's kind of like a watch and learn situation where you'll follow on-screen prompts that will guide you through the process. So Jung is going to go through this process itself in a little more detail, but I wanted to introduce you to the content, what it looks like, and its purpose. So you can see it's already kind of cruising through the process. It's going to select the program, create a new budget, and brings us to the form itself. And it really offers a lot of detail about how to enter the data that's required, the available options that are there to be selected. And you can kind of click through this at your own speed and return to it as needed. It's a cloud-based document, which means that as the system is continued to improve, we can go ahead and update the documentation in real time, publish it online without having to send out notifications of new documentation. And it's available for you, all the time. So you don't really need to commit this to memory. It's right there in the system. Anytime you have questions, you can just go ahead, open it, watch it again. You can pull it up alongside the system itself. And it's sort of a handheld guide through the process. So you're going to see all of these screens again. I know I'm cruising pretty quickly, but Jung is going to show you the live system and how it looks and feels. But I wanted to introduce you to the training content now, and we've got a couple more modules that will be added along with as the application continues to develop. We've got the expenditure reports, the reimbursement requests, and FAQs as well. And finally, we've got a contacts page, which just assembles the necessary contacts into a single place. And we can continue to add to this and develop it to improve it. So not a lot here, other than a complete step-by-step guide through the entire system. but did want to show that to you before we got started. I'll put it in the chat now. So if you like, you can pull that up. One word is that this is housed in on our EBS system. So you will need to have logged into the EBS portal to view it. Clicking the link to the content will bring you to an EBS sign-on page. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jung. Thank you very much for your time, and I'll put that link in the chat now.
Okay, thank you, Gabe. If you could unshare, I can share my screen. Gabe, could you unshare your screen and then I can share my screen?
Oh, I did click pause share, and I do see a new share button, but I do not see a stop share.
Uh-oh. Lisa, maybe we could remove him from the meeting, maybe.
I got it.
Try
You
to
got it?
share
Okay,
now,
great.
John.
Okay, thank you very much. I got it. All right. Which screen this is? Share. Perfect. Okay, good morning, everybody. So you'll be logging into the system from using a browser, an internet browser. So we prefer that you use Microsoft Edge or Google Chrome. This isn't the actual URL. We'll share the actual URL to the live system. I'm going to demo out of our test system for now, our development system. You'll be logging in with your NCID. So this is the ID that you've been asked to register for, or if you've already used NCID for other systems, you can use that as well. So when you log in with your NCID, your user is tied to an account. So we know who you are when you log in. You'll be presented with a bunch of tiles. We call these tiles. That'll take you to the form that you need to fill out. So for the first phase, you'll be submitting the budgets. So you'll be clicking on actual budget CFWYI. When you click on the budget, you'll be presented with a list. So if you have more than one budgets that you're submitting, you may see them as you're working on it. You'll see the different statuses on here. So if you're working on it, you can work on it and save it. It'll be in process. And then once you're ready to submit it for approval, and if you click on submit, it'll say submitted. And all the old ones, whether it's rejected, approved, or submitted, or else other statuses will show up at the bottom in the list. To create the actual budget, you just click on the button called Create Actual Budget on the top right-hand corner. That will present you with a list of programs that are active. So mind you, this is our test system, so there's some test data in here. But for example, you'll see things like fiscal year 2022 DV, fiscal year 2022 DV, divorce filing fee, marriage license fee, sexual assault, youth mini grant, etc. So when you log into EBS and you click try to submit a budget, you'll see all the active programs for that year. So for this demonstration, we're going to click on DV. And then it'll ask you for a confirmation. You say yes. So what this does is it brings up a form that you fill out. And this basically replaces the different spreadsheets that you've submitted over the years. So we've kind of combined all of those into one form. The system knows who you are based on, I just use this as an example, but this will show your ID on there. So your agency, it'll put the program ID that you selected on there. It'll have your tax ID, and then you choose, for state grants, you choose your region. This determines where it gets routed for approval. So I'm just going to pick one for now. And then for description, if you have multiple offices or if you have multiple applications for different counties, then you can specify that here so that the approvers can see, and you can also see which application this is for the same program. So I'll just put that on there. If the program requires matching funds, the field will appear here as well. If it does not require matching funds, then you will not see this field. So I'm just going to put some amount in there. For expense types that are position related, there'll be a description field you have to fill out. Something like that, right? And then fill out an amount. And then we've also combined the user narrative into one field, so you don't have to fill out a different spreadsheet. You just put it all in one place here. Okay, and then if you have multiple, you can hit the plus button here to add additional positions. Just put that in there. Just put 3,000 here. Okay. And then you can fill in the rest of these expenses for the budget. Okay. You'll notice that there's a section for supporting documents. So you can, you'll get a drop down of the types of documents. Right now, this is just test data, but it could be like invoices or job descriptions or things like that. So when you log in, you'll see the different document types that you'll be required to specify as you make the attachments. You just hit the upload button here. And it's just like attaching email documents, right? You just navigate to where you have your file and you can just attach it. And then we'll just attach it on there and it'll have the document type, whatever you selected up here. Okay. And you're able to save it. So if you're working on it and you want to get back to it later, you can save it. It tells me if there's a user narrative required. If I click on that, it'll take me to where I have to put a user narrative. So there's some basic error checking on there. Okay, let's see if it'll let me save it this time. So now it let me save it. Okay, and then I can keep working on it, or I can go back and I can work on maybe a different application or a different form. So you'll see that this says it's in progress now by the subrecipient. Okay, so now I'm going to go take a break, come back, work on it again, click on it. If everything looks good, I can also print it using the print button. This also lets me save it as a PDF file if you want to file it away for whatever purpose. Okay, so everybody maybe print this out and you sign it or something. So this could be useful. If you're ready to submit it, it's simple as hitting the submit button here. And then I asked you if you want to submit, because once you submit it, we cannot edit the information. So once it's finalized, you go ahead and submit it. And submitting takes a couple seconds here to check everything, and then it gets submitted. Takes you back to the page here. Okay. Since that was so simple, we'll create another one. So we'll create actually, so let's say you can submit another budget for the same program for a different office, let's say, or you can create another budget for a different program. So same process, you hit create budget. This time I'm going to do the divorce filing fee, so I'll click on that. And I go through the same process here. I just put in the region. I think I picked Northern this time, right? Matching funds. Okay. So on and so forth. Simple as that. Okay. So that's pretty much it. That's how you create a budget. So once that gets submitted, you'll get an email saying that the budget's been submitted. Your folks over at Council for Women, they'll get notified that there's a budget to be approved. And they can make comments and return it to you for corrections, or they can approve it, from which we'll create the agreement and then the payment process will start. So pretty simple process to submit a budget. Okay, I'll turn it back over to Elisa and we can start taking questions.
Thank you, John. Let's look at the,
So Lisa, we've gotten two questions so far, so I'll kick it off. So the first two were similar. One was is user narrative the same as budget narrative? And then can we explain what the user narrative is? So the user narrative field, it's the same thing as the budget narrative. It's used to basically give a description of how you arrive to your requested amount. And then how the services or activities or the personnel are going to correlate to the grant. So for example, if you're requesting a shelter coordinator, then in the narrative, you'll let us know what % of the time this person is going to be working on the grant. If you know their hourly pay, you'll say, okay, this person will work X number of hours at X rate, and then just give us a brief description of what they'll be doing on the grant. Is there a maximum number of characters for the narrative? No. So in the text field, there's unlimited text, so feel free to type away. And then the other question we have was, how many characters will drop down narrative allow? And so again, there's no maximum characters in the chat, in the text field for the chat. In the text field for the narrative, so you have unlimited characters. And will the field description instructions be on the live version? So I'm assuming, Jennifer, you're talking about the videos that Gabe highlighted at the beginning. So yes, those are actually going to be in the live version of the system. So when you log in, you'll have a link that says testing instructions, and you can go in and watch those step-by-step videos. We're going to also post the step-by-step instructions to our website. So at any time, you'll be able to go to the website, read the instructions, as well as have access to this video as well. And she says, I'm talking about the instructions for what to put in the narrative and other areas. So yeah, so that will be a part of the Q&A. And then as you hover over each field within the database, it kind of gives you a little narrative on what to put. So for example, like if you hover over where it says narrative, if you hover over where it says description, it kind of gives you a little text to kind of help jog your memory on what should go in that particular section in the live system.
Also, Mario, let me also include that they will have other training on the contract and actual budget process. In addition to this is mainly, we want to cover what you can do in the system and show you what you will be putting in your budget and the change request for right now. However, you will have more instructions on specifically what kind of information you need to put in the narrative, okay?
And as you see, Young is hovering over the description, and it kind of gives you a brief text on what should go in that particular field. So that is in the live system. If you notice after you submit that you need to make a change, how do you do that? So if you've submitted your budget for review to your for your particular program and you need to make a change, you'll need to reach out to your regional director and request that they send that particular budget back to you. Once it goes to the region, it's going to stay in pending status until it's either approved or denied. So you won't be able to make any changes once that budget is actually in pending status. If you currently submit other grant reimbursements to EBS, would another login and password be assigned? So I'm thinking you're talking about the registration into the system, and you should be able to use your current NC and ID password to log in. If you have specific questions about registration, you can contact our security coordinator, Sandra, and she'll be able to kind of walk you through registration and getting things changed over, and we'll have her contact information displayed at the end. Should we be able to log in today? I followed the link, but I did not accept my NCID login. I did send my email request when that was sent out. So if you have specific questions about registration, not being able to get into the system, or maybe you're getting some error message, again, our security coordinator will be able to kind of walk you through that one by one. And so you'll just need to reach out to her and she'll be able to assist you with that.
Yeah, Mario, let me just jump in real quick, and I can confirm that, you know, if you have an existing EBS account, which does use your NCID, but it's not to be conflated. They are two separate things. We at EBS use the NCID credentials for access, but you will need to, you know, your security coordinator, you'll need to coordinate with your security coordinator to get those roles added. So you may not, just if you have NCID only, you may not yet have access to EBS. You'll need to talk to your security coordinator about that. But once you do get access, you shouldn't have any issue accessing that link.
Mm-hmm. And I see a couple of questions about getting access to the system. Yeah, so we're gonna have the link posted on the website and sent out so everyone can have it and favorite it so that they'll be able to log in.
Did we answer Adrian Johnson's question? If you currently submit other grant reimbursements into EBS with another login and password, I think Gabe just answered that, correct?
Yeah, I answered
Okay.
that. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can we reshare the name of the security coordinator? Yes, so we'll have her, we're gonna send out the slides and again, post this, so you'll have her name and email address as well. So you can contact her and just make sure everything is good to go for registration. And I think that's all the questions we have so far about entering budgets. And so we'll pause on questions and then I'll let Jung move over to doing our favorite part, which is doing our budget change request, or BTRs as we know them. And then we'll reopen back up at the end for additional questions on either one of those.
Okay, great. Let me share my screen again. So the link that Danielle just sent out, this gives you information on how to log in. I'm not sure we opened it up for login as of yet. I think we're just doing the registration for now. And then I think once the budgets are finalized, I think at least we'll go over that in a minute. But once everything's finalized, I think we'll give the word for people to log in and start submitting budgets. But today we're just training. So the next part is let's say the budget has been submitted and approved. And then we have created what we call agreements in our system. So once that's done, and then throughout the year, throughout the fiscal year, as you have changes to your budget, you'll be able to submit a change request. This replaces what was previously known as the budget transfer request. So we're not just moving money around from line to line. We can move money around and we can also add additional positions, for example. So I think there's a change in the process there. But again, you log into the EBS system and you'll have access to a tile called change request. Click on that, it will give you a list of all the change requests that you've submitted previously or that's in process. If you want to create a new one, again, you go to the top right hand and click create change request. When you click on create change request, you'll be presented with an agreement that has been created for you. So if you, for example, if you have an agreement for, let's say, FIPSA and DV and marriage license fee and divorce filing fee, whatever budget you want to change, you select. You'll see the description on there. So let's say if I want to change the DV, it'll ask you, do you want to create a new one? Yes. Oops. That was a bad example. I have a lot of test data. So let me go back and actually show you one that's already in process. So when you go in, it'll look something like this. Basically what you do is, based on the dollar amount, you can either add, just put minus, or plus, just add. So you could, let's say, for example, I take $1,000 out of here and put $1,000 back on there, for example. Or I can add 1,000 here or do minus 1,000 there. If I want to add a new position, I can just add a new one. Just click the button here. Something like that. So it's the same process. And then you put the justification down here. You type your justification, select your document types. If there are any specific attachments that you want to provide for justification for changing the budget, you can attach documents here. Same process. Okay. Like attach it in email, right? And then you submit or save. Okay. Oh, balance can't be negative. So it'll check for basic errors. So I can't have a negative budget. So for example, let's take some money out of here, let's say. Okay. So again, you can work on this over time. So you can save it and then it'll just be in process. When you're ready to submit it, you go in there and click submit. And again, the folks over at Council for Women will either approve it and then it'll automatically update your contract amount, your budget amount. They can return it to you with comments and then you can make corrections and resubmit it if you like. So if it's been returned to you, it'll say return to subrecipient. You'll get an email saying something's been returned to you, and then you just go in there and make your fixes, make your corrections as requested, and then you can just resubmit it. Okay, that's pretty much it. We'll be rolling that out shortly, but first thing that we're going to roll out is the budget, so you can submit it, and then after all the budget's been approved, then you'll have an opportunity to submit change requests if needed throughout the year. Okay. Now, likewise, you'll have expenditure reporting and reimbursement requests. That'll open up for you to submit those when it's time. I can give you a quick peek, maybe. It'll look very similar, but the expense report's going to, of course, have less lines on there because this is only going to show the expense types that were approved in your budget. So it's not going to show the entire catalog of expenses, only the ones that you've actually put in your budget. So if you only had 5 lines in your budget, then it's only going to show 5 lines for your report. So you don't have to scroll through a massive workbook every month. You just report expenses against just the budget that you've submitted for each program. So it should be a simpler form for you. Likewise for the reimbursement request, it's going to look very similar. It's going to have just the lines from your budget that you have to request reimbursement. I think this is only for FIPSA, right? So yeah, so it'll look something like that. And the attachments look the same, save and submit work exactly the same way. So this will be ready for you shortly in the coming weeks. But for now, we'll start with the budget, and then you'll get your payments. And then if you want to change your budget, change your request process, and then you just do your expense reporting and the reimbursement requests as needed in the coming months. So we can take questions now.
So I'll start with some that we have in the chat, and then I'll open it up to the group. And just want to keep the questions to, or try to keep the questions to entering the budgets, completing change request, and then we have some announcements that I think will answer some of your other burning questions that I see you guys coming with. So the first question was, will this system replace SharePoint? Yes. So this is going to be the new grants management system for the council. So for all of our state grantees who are accessing SharePoint to upload budget change requests and budgets and contract documents, this will be the new system for that. I think Danielle has a saying that we're kind of flying the plane as we're building the plane. And so we've kind of started with the budget part of the process. And then as Jung said, we're working on, well, we have the budget, the change request, and then we're working currently on the expenditure reporting and reimbursement reports, which will roll out in 2 weeks. And then we'll have the application portion. So your top to bottom grants management will happen in this new system versus SharePoint. Someone said, am I understanding correctly that we will be able to add new staff if needed throughout the grant period? And so I'm not sure if you're referring to adding new staff that wasn't in the originally approved budget. That's new line items as they're added. It's on a case-by-case basis. And so that will, you'll have to submit that and get that approved through your grants manager or region director as normal. So the current process that stands with getting new expenses approved hasn't changed. We're just changing the way we do it and no longer using the Excel format. Someone asked, will we receive email notifications for all submissions and for when modifications are needed and when approvals are made? So yes, anytime there's an approval or a denial in the system, you will get notified and you'll be able to log in, see comments on why the budgets were denied, what modifications need to be made, as well as approvals. So anytime you submit your budget, and the budget is approved, you'll get an email from the system just letting you know that the budget has been approved for the amount that you requested. So someone said, will there be a change where there can be amounts added to line items, even if there is nothing in the amount column? So again, I think you're referring to being able to add new line items to your budgets that were not approved at the beginning of the process. And so, yes, you can add new columns where there currently are no dollar amounts. But again, that approval will still have to go through the same process of getting first programmatic review and approval from the regional director, and then final approval from the grants manager. And again, it all happens in the system. So you'll be able to see when your budgets are pending. You'll be able to see when budgets have made level 1 approval or the first round of approval, final approval. And then again, you'll get the notification when it's all said and done and ready to go. And again, I think Kat asked the same question as the others about adding new line items. Will there be a deadline to submit budget adjustments? And so, yes, as we typically do with all of our grants, they all run on various timelines. And so they all have ending periods for when you can do final budget transfers. And so I'll just use FISPA since that is one of our current running grants. And so, as you know, those contracts end in September. And so typically we cut off doing budget transfers the month before. And so August 30th, which is this month, budget transfers will be denied. Typically, we send out emails notifying you guys of that. One of the beauties of the system is that we can actually now have cutoff dates. And so if the system was all live and running, or when the system is all live and running, if you try to submit a budget transfer after the cutoff, it wouldn't accept it. So you would get that automatic email denial saying that the timeline has passed for submitting those budget transfers. Will you be able to upload receipts for expenses? So yes, so again, the system is going to run like our normal process. So when we get, and we'll have a full training once that part is rolled out, but just like with normal expense and reimbursement requests, you'll be able to upload all of your receipts and supporting documentations for your expense reports. Same thing when you are submitting your budget, you know, there's couple of documents that we require. So your position descriptions, lease agreements, and those things, again, you'll be able to upload that. So the system is no different than our current process with SharePoint and email. The only difference is now everything is going to be housed in one system. So it's going to be a little bit easier to manage all of your grants and contracts with the council and be able to share information with you guys. So those are all our pre-chat questions. I'm going to open it up to if there's any questions that we have not covered about the budget or budget change. Please feel free to unmute yourself. Let's see, well, we got 2 more. When can we expect to receive our finalized contracts? Also, do we have to wait until the system is live to be able to submit reimbursement requests for July? I'm going to hold that question until we get to our next steps. And then when will the budget link be live and ready for us? And I'm going to hold that one again until we get to our next steps. And I think we'll clarify that when we talk about next steps. And so for now, again, if you have any questions about how to enter your budget, how to complete a change request, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away. Do we like the system so far? Thumbs up or smiling? I hear a lot of silence, so I'm assuming it's somewhat intuitive. People are okay with it. All right, I see some thumbs up. I like the interaction. All right, well, hearing no immediate questions, let's see, I'll check my chat one more time, and then I will turn it over to Elisa to do a registration reminder and then talk about next steps, which I think everyone is eager to get to. And then I have some questions about next steps that we can go over as well. So Elisa, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Let me go back to it. Okay, registration deadline is tomorrow, Friday, August 19th. So if you have not registered for your username, please do that with NCID and to get into the system. Friday, August 19th is the deadline for that. Now you will have an opportunity to do it at a later date, but we want to encourage everyone who has not, and there's still a few out there, to please register so you can get into the system, because we will make it available for you to start putting your budgets in within the next week. This is our registration and security coordinator, Sandra Ross. She's our communication specialist here, and that is her email address. So if you have any questions about registering or your password, we're really not your password, you make up your own password, but your user ID, please contact Sandra and she'll be able to help you.
Elisa, this is Sandra. Is it okay if I say something?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. So almost everybody is registered, and there was a little bit of confusion about the NCID. Your NCID is not NCC 754. So if you did that, you will have to redo it. And I've had a couple of people do that more than once. You choose your NCID, you make it up. It's all you. You can make it be, I love cats. It can be whatever you want it to be. If you do have a problem, if you will just email me, that's my email on the screen, and I will be happy to help you with that. But it would be good if we got all this finished by the end of the day tomorrow. So thank you very much. And please feel free to email me, because I do have that all set up. I can send you a link so that everything will be really simple.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay, we're gonna move forward. If there's no questions about that, we're gonna move forward. So our next steps, as we just discussed, register by tomorrow, by end of day tomorrow. State grants will have an opportunity to start entering their budgets and narratives starting August 23rd. You'll get more information about that and your amount, your estimated amount for your contracts. Continue to look for notifications about when your contracts will come out. FIPSA ARP supplemental will also have the opportunity to start entering their budgets and narratives starting that date as well. And FIPSA Core, we are entering into our second year of our contract. So your time will be September 15th. So look for information as well, starting the 1st of September about that, okay? There are more grants management system trainings, and you will get notified just as you did through your region office and also through the FIPSA listserv. So please be on the lookout for that, because probably in the next couple of weeks, we will start the training for the expense reporting. These are system contacts. If you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to contact me or Mario. Email addresses are listed right there. Also, Danielle Carmen and Sandra Ross is covering the security. Again, please contact them with any questions you may have, preferably Sandra.
And with that, Elisa, I'll go over our final questions that we have.
Okay.
open it back up to the group, and then I think we can close it out because I got some email questions as well. So just want to reiterate, like Elisa said, if you are a state grant, you'll be able to enter your budgets starting on next Tuesday, as well as the FISPA ARP supplemental. We had a question about when will we receive an expense workbook? So again, there won't be any workbooks for this next grant cycle. Everything will be managed through the system. So next week, you'll start inputting your budgets and budget narratives, and you'll start getting those approvals from either your region or your grants manager, depending on what grant you're putting in. And then you'll be doing your expense reports and all of your reimbursement requests in the actual system. Someone asked about when we'll receive our contracts. So the contracts will be happening outside of the system. So for the FISPA ARP, you've already gotten your contracts. You're just waiting on those to get signed and come back to you. And for state grants, you will get those within 10 days of certification of the state budget, and that has not happened yet. So kind of doing things in parts. The first part is getting the budgets actually in the system, but the contract process will happen as normal outside of the system. I think those were the last questions that we had, pre-questions or emailed to me. We have about 15 more minutes. Are there any other questions? Can we get confirmation that you received our form requesting access? I think that's a question for Sandra, and she can follow up with you on that one. Someone asked, do we have to wait until the system is live to be able to submit reimbursement request for July? And so, yeah, so you'll put in your budgets into the system, like I said, on next Tuesday. And then we'll have our training for the expense reports and reimbursements within 2 weeks. And so then in September, our FISPA ARP grantees, you'll be able to go in and submit for your reimbursement within the system. And then for our state grantees, you'll actually get your first disbursement and payout in the system in September. So. Yes, Vicki, so that's correct. So the contracts have not been returned to you yet for FISPA ARP. They've gone out to all of the grantees to get the grantee signature, but we have not had the final internal signature yet. So once those are signed by Danielle and David, we'll get those out to everyone as soon as possible. They're still going through the review process. I think I've covered all of our pre-emailed and pre-chat questions. Again, any additional questions before we wrap it up? All right, Elisa, if you want to wrap us up, I think that's it for our questions.
Yeah, sure. Let me just reiterate that this grants management system is going to bring about a change, or it has brought about a change. And so there may be the processes, some processes that we previously had may change, but it's not going to change the work and the information that we require of the grantees, okay? You will have more training as it relates specifically to your budgets, your expense reports and reimbursements, things of that nature. But just know that you still have to get the approval from your region director. Then it will flow to your grant administrator. If it's FIPSA, it will be first to your grant manager and then to your to the administrator. So just remember that. Always go to your region first.